We are well into training camp, and there's a lot of optimism about the New York Jets. Why? Because it's only the month of July, and nothing has really gone all that wrong as of yet. And we're going to get into that for sure. I'm also going to rank the top 10 most indispensable New York Jets on the roster for 2025. Going to talk about a few things around the AFC East, particularly with Miami. Got a couple of thoughts, who's stock up, who's stock down. We're getting into all of that. And then with 3 and out, I got a little bit of yelling to do. Guys, I don't want to waste any more time. It's Wednesday night. It's 6 p.m. Eastern. We are live. Well. Welcome everybody back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Watsu-K99. Thanks as always for taking the time to join me for this weekly Wednesday night extravaganza. I appreciate all of you being here with me tonight. Hope everybody's having a great week as we come to the end of probably my favorite month of the year as we come to the end of July. So enjoy this last day. Today is actual random note, National Cheesecake Day and National Chicken Tender Day. Kind of hard to go wrong with that combination, isn't it? Yeah, give me some Raisin Canes and some Juniors. I'm a happy guy right there. So we'll do this. All right, so we'll get into football in a little bit, but I want to get into 3 and out right now. I don't want to waste any time, so let's talk about it right now. What's going on in the world of New York sports? There we go. Thank you very much. I actually am going to spend the first one because there's nothing going on in basketball, hockey, anything like that. I want to spend a minute talking, believe it or not, about Happy Gilmore 2. I watched the movie. I feel like this qualifies under the sports category. If you haven't seen it, look, it's a good nostalgic movie if you're looking for something just kind of carefree and kind of fun. The cameos were great. Scotty Scheffler in particular, absolutely awesome. Considering a lot of people don't think he shows the biggest personality, I thought he did really well in here. My favorite scene, probably the graveyard scene with Shooter McGavin and Happy Gilmore, where they show the graves of Bob Barker, Chubbs, Grandma, Jackass Guy, Virginia, and the nursing home lady. I mean, it was so absurd, but it was fun. I thought at the end it got a little bit absurd with all the technology on the Maxi course where you had an ice rink, you had the tilting green. It got a little bit too hokey there at the end for me. Some people loving the movie, some people hating on the movie. Look, it is what it is. It wasn't trying to be the English Patient or Casablanca here, okay? It wasn't trying to be that. It's supposed to be a little bit ridiculous and make you feel good. And for the most part, I thought the movie did that. I can't say I busted out laughing a whole lot, but it did keep me interested and kept me paying attention. And that's not easy for a 2-hour movie nowadays. So I'd recommend it. I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it a 7 for what it was. All right, on to topic number 2, the New York Yankees. Good job by them. Beat Tampa Bay 7-5 last night. Split the first 2 games of this 4-game series. Then after the series, 3 at Miami, 3 at Texas. And that Texas series is big. Texas is the first team out of the AL wildcard race. They're 2.5 back of the Yankees, so the Rangers know this is a big series for them. And the Yankees 4 back of Toronto in the Eastern Division. Okay, enough of that. Let's get straight to the New York Mets. And I am pissed off at this team right now. As I'm recording right now, they're playing San Diego, although apparently they're playing the 27 Yankees. They're down 4-0 in the 7th inning as of this very minute. Look, this team, we've known this is not a team that is going to win a pennant, okay? They're a good team, but they are missing a lot. They are an incomplete team. Now, this afternoon, I recorded a quick video on it. They made a trade for Tyler Rogers from San Francisco. And when I first heard that, I was happy about it. Tyler Rogers, very effective veteran pitcher, 34 years old. He's got that submarine sort of motion where he throws from underneath. It's fun to watch. And the truth is, the Mets haven't really had someone like that since, I don't know, Chad Bradford back in 2006, who I wish they had never let go. Okay. But Rogers is a workhorse. Pitched 77 games last year, the most of any pitcher. He's got a 1.80 ERA and a 0.86 whip in 50 innings pitched. That's really good. But here's the thing. He's a rental. The contract is up after this season. And then when I saw what the return was, I almost fell out of my chair at my job, okay? They gave up their 10th and 12th ranked prospects in Blade Tidwell, the pitcher, and Drew Gilbert, who is the number 2 or 3 ranked prospect just about a year ago, and Jose Butto from their bullpen. Now, here's the thing. All right. It's not so much I hate that the players that they gave up, but the fact that they traded 3 legitimate pieces for a reliever who's a rental, I don't understand the principle of it. Okay. And look, Drew Gilbert, I wanted him called up to play center field. All right. I can't watch Tyrone Taylor batting like 056 all year. As good as he is defensively, he sucks that bad offensively. I wanted to give Gilbert a shot. Over the last 6 weeks, he's really been raking in AAA. He was the centerpiece of that Justin Verlander trade a few years ago, and now the Mets trade him as part of a package to get a rental reliever. A rental reliever! The one thing, though, that I can understand, and it took me a few minutes to sort of realize this, the Mets have a number of position prospects who can play center field and play well. Brandon Nimmo is your left fielder and Juan Soto is your right fielder. It is what it is, okay? You need good defense in center field. The Mets have Jet Williams and Carson Bench coming up in the next 2 years in all likelihood, okay? So I could see how there isn't necessarily room for Drew Gilbert. But I'd like to think if they were to trade Drew Gilbert, they would have gotten a little bit more back. Then again, a rental reliever. I look at this Mets roster right now, as they are getting their ass kicked again by San Diego, and I see a playoff caliber team, but I don't see a team that's winning a series. This team is not deep enough, especially in the lineup. Outside of David Peterson, no one can pitch 5 innings. No one. Clay Holmes, that absolute stiff. I can't stand Clay Holmes. Can't stand. I have been as big a defender of David Stearns amongst these criticisms from Met fans. He's a small market GM. He went to Harvard. He doesn't know. He's not old school enough. And all this shit. All this that I got to hear when he made move after move that worked out. Well, I'll tell you what, I will be the first one to jump on him for making an absolutely idiotic decision to give Clay Holmes, almost a lifelong reliever, a 3-year contract to become a starting pitcher. He can't do. I don't want to hear that he's at his inning limits. It's July. It's July. This loser. Out of the 4th inning today against San Diego. I'm sick of him. Sick of him. His signing ranks right up there with Jason Bay and Luis Castillo in Mets history. You got to be kidding me. And then you look at the lineup. They're facing Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish came into this game with an ERA almost near 10. Near 10. So far, 7 innings, 2 hits allowed, not 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. They're making him like Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson, Greg Maddux, and Pedro Martinez all rolled into one. This lineup right now, Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso, oh my God, they have the 2 lowest batting averages in the National League. Since June 13th, they're both under 200. These are supposed to be your horses. And as many clutches as they had last year. What the hell happened to them this year? I don't even want to kill the kids. I don't even want to get on Vientos or Beatty or those guys. Yes, I could. Maybe they're not being as consistent as you'd like. But the players who've shown that they can do it, where are they? Where are they? What happened to the MVP pace Pete Alonso was setting? Where did it go? And I know they're coming off a 7-game winning streak. That's all well and good. The way this team is playing is not sustainable. It's not. It's just not. And I'm not doubting Taylor Rogers will help the bullpen, okay? I know it, I believe that it will work out, but I'll tell you what, for what they gave up a lot. This guy better be freaking Frankie Rodriguez from the 0-2 Angels, who came out of nowhere and helped propel that team to a world championship. I'm not giving this guy Rodgers any slack. Any slack. I purposely have my Aaron Rodgers jersey on right now for a reason. Because if Rodgers doesn't do his job for the Mets, he'll be even more hated than Aaron Rodgers. He better do his job because they gave up a hell of a lot to get him. And I don't think the Mets are done yet because I'll tell you what, this lineup needs lengthening. Somebody who could get on base, preferably. We'll see if any news breaks during the course of the show here. But oh my gosh. Okay, I feel a little bit better. Hope everybody doesn't mind. I had to spend a few minutes just to get that out because I am just disgusted with the New York Mets, the way they're playing. They are a more talented team than they were last year, in my mind, but they don't have the depth of the Dodgers. They don't have the heart of the Brewers. They don't have the hitting ability of the Cubs. They don't even have the drive of the Phillies. And the Padres have a much scarier lineup than the Mets do. I don't see how this team gets out of a loaded National League. I don't see how they do it. I need a lot more. A lot more. And David Stearns, you got 24 hours. Actually, now 23 hours and 49 minutes. But hey, who's counting? I didn't want to mention this, but my birthday is tomorrow. And when I'm sitting down at my birthday dinner, I'll tell you what, whatever I'm eating, it better go down easy because you better have made a good move that vaults this team into being a legitimate contender. Because I ain't happy right now with you. And I have been as big a defender of yours as there is. On that note, let's go to the chat. Hey, how did MJF do? Talking about the Happy Gilmore movie. You know what? I thought he was pretty good. You know, he had to be sort of the obnoxious jerk off little, Gilmore's son, which he is by nature. That's who he is. I'm not an AEW watcher, but I know enough about MJF to know that he played that role very, very well. Also MJF is a Mets fan. So he knows a lot about, and he had to be a Boston guy for this movie. So I thought MJF did fine, but I can't say he has the most range of anybody I've ever seen. The great Tony Alexio, good evening to you as well, telling me to calm down. I'm good now. I just had to let that out. I'm going to let it out. I don't go off too often, but when I do, I am going to make it count. The great Jets Mess. How are you doing? The OG channel member. Hope you're doing well. Hope your week is going great. Yeah. Actually, I put a blanket up here, by the way, so that we wouldn't have to deal with the light shining through again since the sun sets on this side again. But go. Yeah, Mets just made the official announcement that that's the trade. So, yeah, it is what it is. All right, guys. Let's say what I don't even want to look at the apple right now. I'm just so annoyed by this team right now. I just really am. Yeah, let's change the background. Let's head out from Queens. And let's move it out to Florham Park. Yeah. I tried to never really exceed 10 minutes with the 3 and out, but I had to go just a few minutes over there. All right. So when the New York Jets are the team that you're counting on to give you a jolt of positivity and to give you a jolt of hope, you are in big, big, big trouble. You're just in trouble, aren't you? But you know what? I got one chin in me. I think you got one chin in you. So everybody, you know what to do. Say it proud. Say it loud. July, one of the best months of the year if you're a New York Jets fan. All right, so let's get into a little bit of what's going on. And before I even get into the Jets news, we actually got to talk about what's going on down in Miami. Oh, my God. This team, whatever the Dolphins over-under is, take the under on wins this year. That secondary is beat to crap. It's more beat up than the Mets pitching rotation and bullpen. Oh my God, Ashton Davis, our old buddy, Ashton Davis, Mr. Interception. He is on crutches and in a walking boot. had a lower leg injury he sustained on Monday. Now, as of this recording, I hadn't seen an official diagnosis or anything like that. The only thing that I'm seeing is that he did avoid a major injury, in that it is not a torn Achilles. But as far as, let me see if I find a specific diagnosis here. It wasn't the thing that keeps you out for the whole season, says the always very charismatic Mike McDaniel. So it's not an Achilles injury, but it is going to keep Davis out for a foreseeable period of time. And then Kader Kohu, probably their best cornerback, he's now out for the year with a partially torn ACL, and it will require surgery. So when you think about this with Miami, they have lost their entire secondary from last season. Jalen Ramsey traded. Kendall Fuller released. Kader Kohu, as I just said, out for the year. Javon Holland left in free agency to go to the Giants. Jordan Poyer still a free agent and very likely retired. Who do they have instead? Jack Jones, who they just signed off the street. Storm Duck, who's there really just for name value and merchandise opportunities. Mike Hilton, who they just signed, who's good, but they just signed him about a week ago. Jason Marshall, who. Cam Smith, draft pick they had, but has not distinguished himself. Kendall Sheffield, who's an ex-Jet and barely played. At safety, you've got Minka Fitzpatrick, who's just fine, and Pat McMorris. But my gosh, teams are going to be able to throw on the Dolphins all year long. Josh Allen against Miami, he might hit 500 yards one time against Miami. I could see it. Man alive. So Miami is beat up. So now we get into a little bit of the Jets news with what's going on. Just a reminder, the first preseason game is a week and a half away from the now burning tundra of Lambeau Field. I will be in attendance. I am ready to go. I got my tickets, got my rental car, got my hotel booked. I will be touring Lambeau Field on the Sunday after the game, and going to the Packers Hall of Fame. I doubt I'll be wearing the Aaron Rodgers jersey, but I have not made that decision just yet. Knowing me, I'll probably go with the Chad Pennington jersey. So anyone mentions it, I will thank them for 2002 when we beat them to win our last division championship. So that's pretty much what I'm thinking as far as that goes. But so I want to talk about a couple of things tonight. And one thing I wanted to mention, ESPN recently released, and I like lists. I like doing countdowns. I like, rankings, lists, things like that, but I try to keep them in their proper perspective. And in this case, because there's not much to talk about, ESPN needs to create a little bit of controversy. So they ranked all 32 NFL teams by their talent under 25 years old, and they ranked it from 1 to 32. So how did it turn out? Well, the Jets turned out to rank 28 out of 32 teams. Now, for context here, Garrett Wilson is now 25. Sauce Gardner turns 25 on August 31st. So those two players are now no longer eligible. Last year, they came in 11th. So you take those two players away, and it changes everything. Jermaine Johnson, obviously a little bit older as well. And then they also talk about blue chip players. And typically these are first-round picks and proven starters. The only one they list is Armand Membu, which I find a little bit strange. But they do mention a few other players. They gave props to Olu Fashanu. That's how he wants his name pronounced, is Fashanu. Joe Tippmann. And then the whole running back room. They mention Braylon Allen, Breece Hall, and Isaiah Davis. They give a brief mention to Mason Taylor and A.Z. Thomas. The point of this is, even though the Jets are ranked 28th on this list, that ranking could soar next year. It can really, really go up. And then you look at the rest of the division. I don't want to go through everything here, but Miami ranks 31, no blue chip talent. Buffalo is ranked 26, and New England's ranked 7. They rank their blue chip players as I believe it was Drake May, Christian Gonzalez, and they threw in Will Campbell. I think it's a little bit weird to count the first round draft picks as blue chip players. To me, you should have to prove something first, but that's the way ESPN does it. And the top 5 teams, interesting to note that 4 of them are NFC teams, but the top 5 they have are Houston, Seattle, Washington, the Giants, and Chicago. So that's who they have as the future talent of this league. So that's what we're looking at there. Now, I wanted to get into some of these quotes that some of these players have been dropping this week about the previous regime. And three players in particular that we're going to mention, Elijah Vera Tucker. It seems like this quote kind of went under the radar for a while, and only this week has it been getting more attention. Maybe it's because AVT is a guard. He's not going to get the attention that a Garrett or a Sauce is going to get. But nevertheless, as one of the more mild-mannered players, but also one of the better players, I think it's worth noting. And I wanted to put the quote on the screen. Backing on what Sauce and Garrett said, I could see this thing turning around for sure, especially with Glenn being the type of coach he is. He praises physicality, but even more accountability. That's very important for a head coach to do. I haven't seen that a lot my first few years. And that's not just Robert Saleh. That is the entire coaching staff. That is damning for the offensive line coach, for the offensive coordinator. Everybody in that regime just got punked out by AVT. And AVT is the kind of player that you want to keep. Quiet, does his job, respected. Only question you would ever have about him is durability. And last year he was healthy. He was 99% healthy. It's a huge year for him. This is the type of player that I hope the Jets' next extension is for this player. You know, I have been thrilled to have him ever since he was first drafted. And this made me respect him that much more. Breece Hall on accountability. In the past, there's been a lot of instability around the whole operation. The whole operation. Not just coaches. That means everything. I feel like this year, I feel that everyone has bought into this coaching staff. It feels a lot better around here coming in every day. So what that tells you is last year, there were players that were not fully committed, that were not fully invested. And the truth is, yes, you're an NFL player. It's a blessing to be an NFL player, to be in that league, because there are many, many people who would love to have that job. But if you don't have, think about the organization you work for. Whatever you may do. I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, an Uber driver, a garbage man, a plumber. You can be anything. If you don't have confidence in your organization and the leadership of that organization, it's going to take something out of you. But if you've got hope to where your organization is going, if you've got optimism in the leadership of that organization, you might give just that little something extra because you got respect and you want to please, you want to impress the people working around you and that you work for as well. It becomes more than just, pride. It becomes more than that, more than just gratification for you and your family. And so that is a big deal. And again, I think and that's another thing. Yes, it's mostly about coaching, but it's still the same owner that everybody was trashing not that long ago. Hopefully, Woody has realized he needs to change a few things, namely staying in the shadows, hopefully hanging out with the Crystal Palace football team out in London. Do I believe that Darren Muji has helped to become a part of that culture? It's a little bit hard to say that. Oh, we have breaking baseball news. The Phillies are close to acquiring Johan Duran from the Twins, their lights-out closer. And with that, folks, the Philadelphia Phillies have just become the favorites to not only win the NL East, but I would dare say to win the pennant. I'll tell you this, I don't want to see Philadelphia in the playoffs now. I don't want to see any part of Duran. It'll be interesting to see what they get. I better start with Andrew Painter, their top prospect. So that is some breaking news from Ken Rosenthal. So we do have breaking baseball news. The Mets got Tyler Rogers, very good relief pitcher, but the Phillies got probably the most coveted reliever on the market in Johan Duran. Coming out to the Undertaker gong. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. News just gets worse and worse. Just gets worse and worse. All right. And then there was Garrett Wilson. So here's what he said. Not just talking about being competitive, you've got to train that way. He was being asked what is the difference in training camp from last year to this year. So he goes on to say, it's got to feel like that at practice. It's got to feel like if you lose, it sucks at practice. It can't just be, we'll turn it on when the game comes. The way we're practicing, the intensity, the stakes feel higher. It feels like you won the drill when you won the drill, and it feels like you lost when you lost. That's something I love to be a part of. And throughout these first couple of months, I've seen it for sure. What it comes down to is these players wanted to be coached, and they didn't feel like they were being coached enough by the prior regime. And maybe the regime before that. Well, we know the regime before that. That one sucked with Gase and Loggins. But we're just talking about Garrett right now, so it's a little bit different. We're just talking about the Saleh era. But it just goes to show you, Robert Saleh would be a great high school coach, maybe even a good college coach. You know, he'd be a good recruiter because he's that nice of a guy, a good coordinator. But as far as an NFL head coach, where sometimes you need to have a little bit of a-hole in you, when you got to be the bad guy, Saleh wasn't capable of doing it. Too many times. And I wasn't the type to get on, this is how the coach is conducting himself on the sideline, so that must be how he's conducting himself 24/7. But when too often your players come out looking unprepared, not executing the fundamentals, and continually falling short in close games in the last 2 minutes of the game, it always comes back to coaching. It always does. And again, as big a Joe Douglas fan as I am and will always be, the biggest mistake he made, it was not Zach Wilson. It was not trading John Franklin Myers. It was hiring Robert Saleh as head coach. And yes, I put some blame on Christopher Johnson as well for that, because they were the two people that interviewed him. If they hadn't hired Saleh, it's very possible that Douglas would still be here now. Who knows how things would have been different. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is never needed. I don't know. We know Zach Wilson would have failed, but I think things would have turned out very differently. Robert Saleh is going to go down as one of the worst hires the Jets ever had. And again, good man, we don't deny that. Great at running steps. Not great at much else. It's a shame. All right, let's go on to a little bit of roster news. What's going on here in training camp. I'm going to minimize. I'm going to lower that just a little bit for a second here. So the Jets did make a few moves. By the way, if you guys have any thoughts or questions about anything I have going on, feel free to leave a comment down there. Of course, hit that thumbs up button. Help to spread the word about the channel. Oh, we got the great Father Abraham. I saw him last night on the Talking Jets show as well. Father Abraham and his many sons, the many sons of Father Abraham. I am one of them, and so are you. All right. So, Jets made a few moves. One was claiming Ryan Cooper, a cornerback from the Dolphins. Now, when you're claiming a cornerback that Miami's gotten rid of, he is not exactly Mel Blount or Darrelle Revis. Okay, that's not exactly the situation. Now, Cooper played 2 years of Division I football at Oregon State, had 4 interceptions and 12 passes defensed in those 2 years. It's pretty good. He was an undrafted free agent for the Ravens before making stops in Seattle and Miami. The thing with Cooper is he's a physical cornerback, but he's not fast. He doesn't really have the speed to do it. Maybe he's somebody who could help you on special teams, but realistically, I wouldn't count on him. And to do that, they waived Kai Kroger, who was one of the 2 punters that they brought in. Also, some other news, running back Zach Evans was moved to the reserve retired list. So Evans never had too much of a shot of making this team. He was either the 5th or 6th running back. So Zach Evans, we hardly knew you. We couldn't pick you out of a lineup, but we wish you well in all your future endeavors. The Jets do add another running back, though, and I want to talk about this guy for a second. Lawrence Toafili. Now, in college, he went to Florida State, so Jets got a few Seminoles on this team already. Now, he ran for 1,895 yards, averaged 5.6 yards per carry, scored 15 rushing touchdowns. This is in his college career. He also had 92 receptions for 905 yards and 4 touchdowns. 432 yards from scrimmage for 2,800 total yards is what that comes out to, and 6.5 yards per play. Now, he was never a full-time starter at State. Important to notice that. Also, his offensive line, not exactly known for being the most dominant one in college football. Now, his skill set can work very well in the NFL. He catches passes out of the backfield very well, which you always like to have from a running back. And he runs pretty strong. He's 5'11", 194, but from what I hear, he runs like he's 210, 220 pounds. He had tried out for the Jets minicamp this past May, and now the Jets bring him on board with a chance to make this roster. Let's see what happens. The Jets did let go, and then also at the offensive line, the Jets make some moves. They released Gus Hartwig, which I was kind of sorry to see, the Purdue interior offensive line. I liked him. I didn't really think there was a place for him on this team with all the depth the Jets have at offensive line. But he hurt his leg on Monday. It was confirmed to be a knee injury. And even though we don't know the details of that injury, it was enough where the Jets decided to let him go, not place him on a list like an injured reserve or anything like that. They just let him go. And of course, they can bring him back at some point down the road if they want to. So in his place, they signed Liam Fornadell, a Don Bosco product. So we got any Jersey guys here like me? Maybe you've heard of him, but played at Don Bosco, very good football school. 26 years old. So this is not a young man by football years. And he spent most of his time in the CFL. So don't count on him sticking around too long either. And of course, the big news, as we know, the folk hero is back. Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. Nick Folk, welcome back to the New York Jets. He has his tryout on Monday. The Jets signed him on Tuesday. You guys know I've been talking about this. I felt the Jets kicker, opening day kicker, was not on the current roster. And the Jets decided, you know what? We got to have a little bit of stability at the kicker position. And Nick Folk, I felt, was the perfect candidate, and they brought him in. Will Parkinson put a lot of these stats up, so I do want to give him the credit. Went 21 for 22 last year, 29 for 30 the year before. Last 2 years, he led the league in field goal percentage in his late 30s. That's something. Had his long kick of 56 yards in 2024. That was the longest kick he made since 2010. And he also made a 53-yarder in 2023. So it's not as if he can just kick accurately from 40 yards and under, and past that, it's an adventure. No, he can still go. 100% on extra points last year, 25 for 25. And then Tuesday, same day, the Jets, before they announced that signing, they waived Caden Davis, the undrafted free agent. So for 1 year, hey, why not? You never know how kickers are going to age. They're like relief pitchers in baseball. Year to year, they're completely unpredictable. So I'm very happy to have Nick Folk back. And hey, we all know last time the Jets made the playoffs, we know he was the kicker. Maybe that's what it takes. So any sign for positivity, I will take it. So happy to have the folk hero back. So let's do a little bit of stock up, stock down. I'm pretty sure if I ran a stock market bell, I get dinged for it. So YouTube, screw you. So a couple of players that we're going to mention on both sides. So stock up. Not this one's kind of in the middle right now, but Braylon Allen. Now, he did sit out practice on Tuesday due to knee soreness. Jets were off today. I expect him to be back in later on this week. But there were people before the season really hyping up Isaiah Davis, saying that Isaiah Davis, that Davis showed them more than Allen did last season. To me, Davis was just doing it in garbage time, and I just needed to see a little bit more. And, to the ninth inning, Mets down 5. They suck. But Braylon Allen, in the videos I've seen, at 240 pounds, looks just so smooth running the football. It's to the point where if Breece Hall got traded for a reasonable return, I'm more than comfortable giving the responsibilities to Braylon Allen and having Davis and maybe a Donovan Edwards as the backup. I'd be okay with it. So I'm excited about what Braylon Allen can be. I was excited about him before last year and even more so now. Mason Taylor has been pretty interesting. I'll say stock up for him, moderately up. Aaron Glenn has been sure to point out his blocking ability and how good that has been in training camp. He said, quote, "I did not think he was going to be this good," talking about Taylor's blocking. And we know how important that is for a team that wants to run the ball. And here's the thing with it. Coaches will lavish praise on players to the media to hype them up. But here's what was so good. AG gave him a specific compliment. He didn't say he's playing well. He didn't say he's coming along. He didn't say we're excited to have him. Nothing like that. No, he gave him specific praise, and that means everything. You want a compliment to mean something in life, point out something specific somebody does, it means that much more to them. See, I'm giving you like Dr. Phil advice here too. You come for the football, stay for the life advice. What the hell? Tony already out on Brees. Trade fumbling Brees. You know what? Tiki Barber became better at it. I feel like that's something though that you could get better at. And Brees better get better at it. He better. But Taylor's had a couple of very tough catches, contested catches. So that's got me pretty encouraged as well. Will McDonald, oh my God. If you haven't seen the Origins episode that was dropped a couple of days ago, make sure to save it on YouTube to your watch later. Watch it on the Jets website. 50 minutes, well worth your time. The interview with the coaches I thought was really, really good. They just how he's changed himself. How I didn't even know he was living in his car for weeks at a time when he was in school. I had no idea. That's got to build some toughness in you. So I'm excited about what he can be. We already were excited. The fact that he's added 15 pounds of muscle. But I'm even more excited now. Arian Smith, I'll tell you what, the speed is there as we knew. He isn't winning every rep, but he doesn't look out of place. He's really competing against these defensive backs. And I think the Jets, I'm not saying he's going to be an every down player, but I do think that he is going to play. I can see him playing 30, 40% of the snaps in this offense by the time it's all said and done. Oh, the return on the trade, the Twins are getting Mick Abel and Eduardo Tate in the trade. So, and we have we got breaking news. We got to break it down. So, obviously they keep Andrew Painter, which is the one I was hoping they would give up. But Eduardo Tate, 4th-ranked prospects. Mick Abel, he's a catcher. Mick Abel, 6th-ranked prospect. He's a pitcher. So, Phillies give up their 4th and 6th-ranked prospects, and Abel's in AAA. He was expected to be up here this year. So, that was a big piece for them to give up. Jets less worried about the Braylon Allen knee injury. There wasn't nobody really noticed anything that he was limping or anything like that. So I'm not worried about it just yet. If he has to sit out like a preseason game or something like that, I'll be looking at it a little bit more. But no, I'm not worried about it just yet. Not yet. And besides, every player is playing a little bit beat up. That's just part of it. Jamal Pritchett, I didn't expect to drop this name, but he's been turning some heads with some of his abilities at special teams and wide receiver. Peyton Page, defensive tackle. Let's go back to defense. Looking like a very legitimate run defender. Guys like Dan Leberfeld, one or two. I think Nick Farley has written a little bit about Peyton Page as well. The defensive tackle looks like he could be a pretty legitimate run stopper. He's looking good in practice. So if you're looking for a player to watch in these joint practices and in these preseason games, this team is shit. 5-0. They suck. I fucking hate the Mets sometimes. I swear. God. Ugh. Pardon my potty mouth. I'm just feeling a little bit extra tonight. I'm just so pissed off how lackluster they are. But anyway, Peyton Page looks good. Andre Sisco, I'll tell you what, I was thrilled for his signing when they brought him in at safety. Only thing I didn't like is it was a 1-year contract, and he has been all over the field. There have been a number of safeties standing out. Malachi Moore, tackles for a loss machine, making big plays. This week, once the pads came on, Moore was showing up. Jarius Monroe laying out some good hits. I'll tell you what, Tony Adams better watch his step because his roster spot, the starting spot is very much in question. I think his roster spot past this year is in question. But my God, we get Andre Sisco and Malachi Moore as a good starting safety tandem. Oh, would I be happy? Because I'll tell you what, Tony Adams, look, he can make plays for you, and that's all well and good. But he's a very up and down sort of player in my mind. And to me, he's a player that you can upgrade from. He reminds me a little bit of a guy that we liked, Bryce Hall, a couple years ago. And then we're like, why do we need a cornerback like Sauce? We got Bryce Hall, and then you bring in Sauce Gardner and I was like, thanks for your services, Bryce, So yeah, I am pretty excited about what these safeties could possibly do. And to me, I think Tony Adams, he's fighting for every rep that he could possibly get. Now, as far as stock down goes, I'm just going to give you a couple of players. Alan Lazard, nobody's been talking about Alan Lazard at all. Where's he? What's he doing? Is he even participating right now? I haven't heard his name one time, written about one time, nothing. I'll tell you what, I would not be shocked if the Jets trade him after week 1, because they are going to do everything they can to make sure he is in Pittsburgh for week 1. But shortly after that, I could see him getting released. I could see him getting traded. I'm at this point, I'm expecting it. And the kickers, you know what? I had pretty much thought that I was going to talk about kickers even before the Nick Folk signing happened. So Mevis definitely has the bigger leg than Caden Davis did. But on Monday, Mevis made all 6 of his field goals, including an attempt from over 50 yards. So just because Folk is the veteran, it doesn't mean that he's automatically going to get the job. And I expect Mevis to get the bulk of the opportunities in the games because you pretty much know what you have in Nick Folk. I think they want to see what Mevis can do in the games, what the thicker kicker can do. And we'll see if they pick the thicker kicker or if they pick the Folk hero. And then Brady Cook. He's come on a little bit this week, but his first week was rough. Just not accurate throws, threw a couple of interceptions, was struggling to read defenses. But in the first week, he threw 3 or 4 interceptions. Now, he did throw a bullet touchdown to Malachi Corley in 7-on-7. I want to say something positive about Corley, even though there's a lot of people who don't really want to. But I think Cook has a very, very uphill battle to make this roster. I don't think it's a guarantee at all. The Jets are going to have 3 quarterbacks on this roster, and I think it's going to be tough for Cook to supplant Adrian Martinez. All right. So now let's go on. I'm gonna max this. I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger again if I can get it there. There we go. The top 10 indispensable New York Jets players. So yeah, let's get into the main content of the night. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And yeah, let's talk about it. Who are the 10 players 2025 the Jets need the most? The ones that they can't afford to lose, where if the Jets were to lose this player, it spells legitimate trouble. So think about who your players would be, and I'm going to give you my 10. In fact, I'm going to rank them from 10 to 1. So let's start with player number 10, and I'm actually going to start with a rookie and not the right tackle. I'm starting with Mason Taylor, the tight end. And it's almost not even fair to put him in this spot. It really is, because rookie tight ends typically don't produce huge in their first year. Now, there are exceptions. Brock Bowers last year had nearly 1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns. Sam Laporta was great in 2023. But let me give you some numbers. In NFL history, only 15 rookie tight ends have 600 yards in a season or more. And only 9 rookie tight ends had more than 5 receiving touchdowns in that first year. So if you get 600 yards and 5 touchdowns from Mason Taylor, I don't want to use the word historic because that word gets used a little bit too freely. But I would say he had a remarkable rookie season. So I don't want to ask too much from this kid, but I can't bear to watch Jeremy Ruckert start again. We know the Jets have been weak at tight end for over a decade. And you look at the best players, the best teams in the NFL over the last 10 or 15 years, all these teams have difference makers. Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, George Kittle. You know, Buffalo, a little bit of an Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, that's a little bit more borderline. But if you're going to be but if you look at just say fantasy tight ends, you know, you really have like a crappy tight end, you know, going in the top 5 of tight ends being taken. So I'm not saying you need a tight end to be a great team, but if you have a really good one, it's, you know, you're probably going to be a pretty good team. I will say that. But Taylor brings the high floor. He brings the pedigree. He brings the polish to the point where I want to see him make a difference early on this team. Tony, I agree with you. He might have the second most receptions. You know what? Usually it's been Breece Hall. I don't want to see that anymore. I don't. And never mind Devontae Adams. He was here for half a season. It's been Breece most of the time. And we know Breece is prone to drops. I don't want to see it. So I'm not saying Mason Taylor will be playing 100% of the snaps to start. But over the course of September and October, I want those reps to go up and up and up. And I think he could do it. You know, early results, even in his rookie training camp, have been promising. Dane, I know. Check out Danger Zone's channel. Please subscribe to him if you aren't already. I know, Dane. I did a lot of yelling early on, so be sure to rewind to watch me kind of go off a little bit just on where this overall team is. And now the Phillies have Duran. Again, the Mets, I don't, unless they do something, or Lindor and Alonso get their heads out of their own asses. This team is a wild card team at best. Freaking frustrating, man. Freaking frustrating. Some things just don't ever change. All right, number 9. Let's go to number 9. Most indispensable Jet. I'm putting on Quincy Williams. Now, linebacker is not what we would call a premium position, but he brings you the speed and the explosiveness that you don't really have anywhere else in this linebacker room. It is a contract year for Quincy Williams, so you know he's determined to show out. Aaron Glenn is very invested in Quincy Williams. He called him. Quincy Williams was one of the first players he called, and he talked to him about his level of play, talked to him about what he's doing well, but what he can do better. Aaron Glenn sees a lot of potential in Quincy Williams, and he wouldn't call Quincy if he didn't believe in him. And I tell you what, in this defense, you're going to see Quincy used a little bit differently than how he was used before. Count on him blitzing, something that Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich would never even consider doing, unless, maybe like twice a year they'd have him blitz. So watch out for what Quincy Williams can do, because I'm pretty excited about it. I think he has even another level to jump. Number 8, his counterpart, Jamien Sherwood. That's right. Who would have believed just 11 months ago? If I told you 11 months ago that he would be on this list for indispensable Jets, who would believe that? At the time, he just seemed to be a good special teams player, a linebacker who was sort of a depth linebacker, a special teams contributor. C.J. Mosley was blocking him, but all he really needed was an opportunity, and he was rewarded with a 3-year, $45 million contract. And we know if he got the free agency, he would have gotten more than that. But Jamien Sherwood, to me, is the leader. He is the quarterback of the defense. And again, with both of these linebackers, look at what's behind them. Jamin Davis, Marcelino McCrary Ball, Zaire Barnes, Kiko Mauioga, the rookie. These are 2 players the Jets cannot afford to lose. One of them goes down, the defense takes a major step back. Let's go to number 7, Justin Fields. Yeah, I'm putting the starting quarterback on this list. That was pretty much a given, but I've got him at his own number, at number 7. Now, Tyrod Taylor is there as the backup, and I wonder, when healthy, how big of a discrepancy is it really between Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor? Yes, Taylor is injury prone. We know that, but we also know he can throw a more accurate pass than Justin Fields has proven he can throw during his first 4 seasons. Fields is still showing issues with reading the defense and delivering an accurate ball. He's showing glimpses of taking the team down the field and being brilliant. We've seen that. But Fields right now is an inconsistent quarterback. And that's what he may always be. You just want him to come through at the biggest times. But if Fields were to not be playing, I think, I have every confidence Tyrod Taylor could step in there for a couple of games and still lead the Jets to some wins. You just don't want it to linger too long, because we know how injury prone Tyrod Taylor is. And I'll tell you what, I also think the Jets, they can have some games where Justin Fields only needs to throw the ball 15 or 20 times. Because if they're running well enough, and you don't need Justin Fields to win you the game with his arm, don't do that. And Fields is a better passer when he's mobile. Check this out. There's 29 quarterbacks with 30 starts since 2021, 30 starts or more. His quarterback rating, yards per attempt, they rank in the bottom 4 when he's in the pocket. When he's outside the pocket, he's 8th in yards per attempt and off-target percentage. He's actually more accurate when he's on the run than when he's just a straight pocket passer. Maybe his mechanics get off. Maybe he overthinks it. It could be a whole number of things. Maybe it's his footwork. That's the job of these coaches to diagnose and correct. So that's something to watch. When Justin Fields how's he passing out of the pocket versus in the pocket? And through his first 4 years, he's much better out of the pocket. Just a little nugget there for you to take with you. Number 6, I'm going with JJ, Jermaine Johnson. No other defensive end brings what he brings. He's playing for a contract as well. Now, he's posted on social media he is cleared. Well, we're still waiting on the Jets or the coaching staff to say something about that, because it ain't up to JJ when he's back on the field. Now, I expect him back there week 1. I'm looking forward to seeing him again week 1. But we heard over and over about how Joe Douglas dismantled the defensive line. Well, he didn't exactly count on Jermaine Johnson going down week 2. Okay, which led to Michael Clemens playing a whole lot more. All right, this staff did not go into the last offseason with the idea that Michael Clemens would be playing 75% of the snaps. I'm assuming, and if everybody just feel free to throw up if you need to at that very thought. I'll give you permission. It's cool. So JJ being back adds skill set to the defensive end room that they haven't had, that they did not have last year, with that two-way ability that JJ brings you. And then we go to number 5, and I'm going to go to his counterpart. I'm going to Will McDonald. We've already talked about him. The expectations are going up by the day for this kid. And we know he's got the speed. We know he's got the spin moves. He's put on the 15 pounds of muscle. He's gone from about 235 to about 250 pounds, and maybe he's no longer as much of a liability against the run as he was in years past. And that will mean something. This is what I've said. I've said this to a couple of other people, and I'm going to say it here. My expectations for Will McDonald, this is the year that the average football fan learns the name Will McDonald. They learn his name this year. Because right now, your average football fan doesn't know. They might know he plays for the Jets, but they couldn't really tell you anything else about him. I think he's going to earn the average Joe Schmo's respect. Danger Zone. He got the moves like Jagger. He got the moves like Jagger. He got the moves. That's the last time I ever do that. Okay. Well, for Super Chats, I might do it, but that's about the only way to do it. That's right. I will woo for money. Okay. Never mind. All right. Let's go to number 4, and I'm putting out our left tackle, the wall, Olu Fashanu. His first full season. Now, you do have a core of 4 as backup, but he's more of a right tackle. Carter Warren's still hanging around. I think the jury is kind of out on Olu. Some people didn't really love how he played, but I'm going to defend him for a couple of minutes here, okay? Olu was playing different positions on the line last year. Now, let's think about this. Last year, he played 159 snaps at right tackle and 37 at right guard before playing his final 336 where he should have been playing, and that's at left tackle. So he was being moved around like AVT used to get moved around. And once he got to left tackle, his performance, it blew up. Over his last 4 games, weeks 13 through 16, he didn't allow a single sack over 212 pass blocking snaps. Okay? 0 in 212 snaps. 7 pressures allowed. His pressure rate, 4.58%. His pass block efficiency, 97.7. They ranked 10th best among 26 left tackles. So, absolute top of the heap, no, but very encouraging for a rookie season. Now, his run blocking, that was supposed to be the place where he was supposed to grow, where he was supposed to struggle. And with the stats I've seen, he was kind of middle of the road, and that's okay for a rookie. But I'll tell you what, I think if I'm looking at a certain trait that could really help, I'm looking at Olu's run blocking. Again, a team that wants to run the ball, if they want to run the ball outside with Brees or he runs the ball better, Olu's got to run block well and especially do it in space. So let's see what his run blocking looks like this year with guys like Hayden and Engstrand coaching him. So I got Olu at number 4. Number 3, I got Sauce Gardner. He has been so scrutinized as of late, and I don't really feel the need to go too much into it now. Some love him, some hate him, and that's just in the Jets fan base. Okay? Never mind the outsiders. Never mind the media types. Never mind them. Never mind the fans of other teams who just want to hate on the Jets. That was a good swig of water for the working man and woman. So the Jets have potential at cornerback. But here's the thing. Some of the wide receivers they face this year, Mike Evans, Zay Flowers, Brian Thomas, Drake London, Tyreek Hill. Yeah, they don't have to face I think they face the Bengals this year. They face Jamar. I thought they did. Yeah, October 26th, they face the Bengals. Yeah, Jamar Chase, of course. He's pretty good. Are you comfortable putting Brandon Stevens or A.Z. Thomas one-on-one with those guys? So for all the hate Sauce gets, you can't deny he's a top 5 cornerback and probably higher. You know, you could argue the tackling. You could argue the turnovers. You could argue the borderline penalties. but you can't argue the coverage skills. And that's what we need him to do more than anything. Number 2, Quinnen Williams. I think Quinnen has been almost forgotten about. I think a lot of people are taking Quinnen Williams for granted, especially in this fan base. Because of the double team, he didn't have as many flashy plays last year, but he is a top 5 defensive tackle in the NFL. Who are you going to put there with him? Dexter Lawrence, Chris Jones, who's getting older, Cam Hayward in Pittsburgh, maybe a DeForest Buckner, or maybe a Jeffrey Simmons. But if you look at the last 3 years, he's got the 2nd most pressures, the 3rd most sacks, the 6th most tackles for a loss, and the 9th most run stops. Quinnen Williams brings it in the run game and the pass game, as well as just about any defensive tackle does in the NFL. And he has been surrounded by nothing. Quinnen Williams is like what Edwin Diaz was in the Mets bullpen, surrounded by a bunch of crap up until about a week ago. And this year, I don't know how optimistic I am now. Derek Nottie, Byron Cowart, Leonard Taylor, Jay Tufele. I gave some praise to Peyton Page, but again, he is an undrafted rookie. Fatorma Malba. Quinnen's got to be getting a little bit frustrated at this point. Now, I know he's optimistic about the regime changes, but my God, somebody's got to step up next to him. Someone's got to step up and become a reliable second defensive tackle. Or teams will just continue to do what they were doing, double team Quinnen, and there's somebody else to beat him one-on-one. Why wouldn't you? And that brings me to the number 1 most indispensable Jet, number 5, Garrett Wilson, as Bob Wischusen likes to say. In his first 3 years, 279 catches, 3,249 yards, and 14 touchdowns. I'm not saying he is the best player the New York Jets have, but I think he may be the most valuable player the Jets have. Garrett is probably a borderline top 10 receiver in the NFL at this point, but he's got the 4th highest guarantee of any wide receiver. And without him, how many meaningful passes can the Jets complete in a single game? And there is room for Garrett to grow with yards after the catch, with scoring touchdowns. Again, 14 touchdowns in 3 years. That's not a whole heck of a lot. His contested catch rate, that's been getting a little bit better. For his career, it's about 38%. Last year, he got it to 51%. And you know what? I bet he could be even better. I think Garrett Wilson has even more room to grow. But again, what's on the other side of him? You look, there are so many positions where the Jets have an excellent player, and then, or at least one starter, and then what do they have after that? Linebacker, cornerback, defensive tackle, and wide receiver. All 4 of those positions are very, very tenuous. Yeti, hey guys, I just dropped a shout out to the show on the circus. Hopefully a few hop over. Thanks, Yeti, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate you giving I appreciate you giving a little bit of love there and helping to spread the word. Just a reminder, if there are any Mets fans, I did some big major yelling about them early on, so you might want to go back and check that out because people like Angry Watt 2K99 at times. I've noticed. Hey, it gets attention. So what are you gonna do? And God knows my teams give me a whole hell of a lot to get angry about. My gosh. So Garrett Wilson, I'm going to mark as my number 1 most indispensable Jet in the year 2025. So that is my list for today. There we go. So yeah, we are back at Florham Park. And if you notice, the Jets logo's on there. So okay, so I'll tell you what, guys, let's go ahead and do one of our weekly traditions. Just a reminder, if we get 15 likes, we spin the wheel, and which is always a very fun tradition. I see we are a little bit short of that right now, so if you want to do the wheel after we do trivia, you got to hit that thumbs up button. So 15 likes is what I'm looking at. Right now, we're just a couple short, so go ahead and get those likes in. All right, so let's do what we do every week, guys. You know what happens every week about this time, right around 7 o'clock is when we do it. But every week I head into the labyrinth of Jets knowledge. I bust open the books. I dust off the Encyclopedia Britannica. I pull up the websites, including the ones in the dark web. Even in the Jets dark web, I go to get these obscure trivia questions for you. And I, Watch UK99, challenge you, the most loyal fans of the most loyal freaking fan base in the National Football League. Just how much do you know about your New York Jets? So if you are ready, let's play Jets trivia. So today's question, we're going to add it to the stage. I think you guys know the rules. I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock. I'm going to be tracking that. And then put your answer in the chat, and I will let you know if you get it correct. I think this is going to be a pretty gettable question, but we'll see what happens. I did a question on Ashton Davis due to his injury, kept it a little bit topical. And this is going to be a jersey number question. So Ashton Davis wore number 21 for the Jets from 2021 to 2024. Who was the last Jet to wear number 21 before Ashton Davis? 5 minutes on the clock. So let's see what we do. So I'll be watching the chat. At least we kept the bugs out tonight. My gosh. All right. So the last Jets were, and of course, don't be Googling it. Don't be looking it up. Kind of takes the fun out of it. Yeti, was it Dyson? I'm not sure which Dyson you're to. Andre Dyson? Not Kevin Dyson. He wasn't. I think you mean Andre Dyson. I think that's who you're referring to, but regardless, it's that would not be correct. All right. Yeah, Andre Dyson. Yeah, wasn't Andre Dyson. Harlan goes with Richardson. Which Richardson? There's a couple of Richardsons. There was Tony, there was Sheldon. Which Richardson are you referring to, Father Abraham? All right. Tony, the running back. Tony Richardson. Wasn't Tony Richardson 49? Yeah. I'm pretty sure T. Rich was 49. Yeah, I just looked it up. Yeah, so only 28 numbers off. It's close. All right, so it was not Andre Dyson. It was not Tony Richardson, but it is somebody that you know. It is somebody. This is not an obscure player. Yeti says the best is Victor Green, but you got me on the most recent. Yeah, Victor Green would definitely be the best. There's no question about it. Sheldon Richardson to cover our bases. Now, Sheldon was number 91. So far not too good, but okay, let's keep going. Yeti, it's not Beasley. Oh, wow, you went deep there. Aaron Beasley? Wow, that's going back to 2002. Yeah, 2002. But unfortunately, it wasn't Aaron Beasley. All right, we got about a minute and a half left, guys. So, chat, come on, you can do it. So we tried a couple of different players. When we get down to 1 minute, I'll give you a clue. 30 seconds, I'll give you another clue. All right? Just to help you out. But we're not there yet. But I got my trivia questions ready to go for the season. Because I like to do the head-to-head questions. Like before week 1, we'll do a Jets-Steelers question. Week after that, we'll do a Jets-Bills question. It gets harder and harder with the division opponents, though. It's fun with the NFC teams because you only get to do them every so often. But yeah, so I got a lot of questions ready to go, even one for the bye week. So guys are stumped. Okay, offense. Think offense. And he became a Jet at the end of his career. Yeti, Google is so tempting, but Yeti, you're strong. Yeti, you're tough. You can hold off. I got faith in you, Yeti. Yeah. Hanging in there. All right, about 15 seconds left. Oh, and before I will throw this in the chat as well, if it works. There we go. Little party hat there. Oh, I didn't wear a hat. My mistake. Yeti, what year? Right before Frank Gore. I think it was like there. Frank Gore is the answer, guys. I'm sorry, Frank Gore. Or number 21. There it is in those uniforms that we would all like to burn. Now, Hank, yeah, I think Tremaine was 22. Not that any of us want to remember him, but the answer was Frank Gore. I know it was. I know. I told it wasn't an obscure Jet, but became a Jet at the end of his career. 13,000. Jets had to put him in so he can hit his little milestone, hit that precious milestone. So, yeah, I know it was Frank Gore. Isn't that amazing? I didn't think that was. I didn't think that was the hardest question, but yeah, I guess it's. I guess in a way, it's almost easy to forget that he was a Jet, but he most definitely. But yeah, when you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, kind of like Ed Reed, Ronnie Lott, these guys, Art Monk, Steve Atwater, all these Hall of Famers who went to the Jets at the very end of their career. We just got a load of them. Yeah, the Gase Wonder. That's right. That's right, Harlan. Yeah, we did kind of forget about him, Yeti. I know. I guess I'll have to have more Frank Gore questions, huh? Maybe we'll do that going forward. All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. I think what we'll do next week, we'll do a little bit of a preview of Jets Packers, not a too in-depth one, but we'll look at maybe some players to watch. We'll get into I definitely want to spend some time talk about some players I'll be paying attention to. And I think that'll be the main thing. And yeah, maybe talk about a little bit of travel plans for Wisconsin. Yeah, maybe we'll just be a little bit more random next week. Probably talk some food about Wisconsin food and whatnot. I will say this, guys. I'm planning on the Friday night. The Mets are in Milwaukee the same weekend. If that absolute piece of crap Clay Holmes is pitching the game, I'm selling the ticket and I'm getting a steak. I'm going to a decent restaurant. I'm getting a steak. Okay. I've worked hard on my side hustles. I've been saving money. My birthday is tomorrow. Okay. I will indulge myself at like 5 o'clock steakhouse at a supper club and get like a really high quality steak because I am not spending my money to watch freaking Clay Holmes not make it out of the fourth inning again. I gotta stop. it. Yeah. Woosah, or whatever it is that they say. Woosah. Oh my God. Yeah, forget that Vic was a Jet. Yeah, it is interesting. People say we have a mobility we never had before. And I'm like, Michael Vick was pretty mobile, wasn't he? Of course, Vic was only here for like 1 year. So, hey, if things go badly with Justin Fields, he might only be here 1 year too, So, all right, guys, I think we're going to call it a night. Let me just double check. Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Make some updates to the channel with, I know, a lot of cheese manufacturers. Yep, no doubt about it. I got a couple of places picked out. Got a breakfast joint picked out. I got the place that makes the best apple pie in the world. And I don't say that easily, but the best apple pie. I'll be going over there. I got a brewery picked out. One of my favorites I haven't been to in about 15 years. A burger place that I got picked out where they'll put cheeseburgers on top of the Bloody Mary as a garnish. I mean, God bless America right here. And, but I am very much looking forward to heading back to the Midwest because, yeah, Wisconsin's a great place to be in the summertime when it's not too cold out. It's a good place to hang. And I'll be spending a little time in Chicago, suburbs of Chicago too. So, yeah, I'll be heading out next Thursday. So I'll still be here to do the show. And then I'll be coming back Sunday night. And, I'll try to post some video maybe put a little video together, a little compilation of sports, food, the different things that I could do. I'll see what I can. I did it once for Philadelphia. I think I'm going to try to do it again, and hopefully it'll get some attention. And I'm definitely no videographer. I'm not an expert at this, but I will do the best I can and make the absolute most of it. Okay, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you had fun. And so have a great rest of your week. Let's, again, hope and pray for good health for our boys. And as always, I will see you same time, same place next week, right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you later.